Hi! I'm not actually standing in the front of the room like all y'alls did your presentations, mainly because I have this DVD instead. See, look, DVD player. Because now, A, I have your attention, don't I? Look, you're watching. Second of all, this is cooler. And I'd rather do this.
I'm not your boyfriend, baby!
Mass culture began in the late 1800s. It was activities and products that people used. The reason they called it mass culture was because mass describes, like, the large quantities of people did these things. And then culture is activities, like what you do in what you do. Earlier forms of mass culture would include, like, comic strips in newspapers. This was a new thing. In the 1800s, somebody decided, they're, like, sitting there at their desk, and they're like, what's gonna make us money? Because it's all about the money in America, right? And comics became part of mass culture. They didn't know it was mass culture then. They're like, oh, let's invent this thing called mass culture. It sort of sprang up, and that's what we know it as today. So there's this guy, and he's thinking about making comic strips for a newspaper, because he thinks people are going to watch them, people are going to enjoy them, and they're going to like them. You get comic strips, which doesn't actually have any productive value. I mean, you're going to sit down and just be like, yeah, comic strips, okay. And they're not very productive. But people enjoy them, and that's what mass culture is about. People enjoying things at large quantities in superficial ways. But that's not what I'm talking about. Amusement parks were good examples of mass culture back in the day, because people enjoyed them. People liked going on amusement parks because they got bored, and this is their entertainment, leisure. Since it began in the late 1800s, mass culture really sprang up at the turn of the century, which is the 1900s, which really makes sense, because in the 19th century, our society and economy and our top dogness, like, skyrocketed. Just like that. So, it would make sense for things that people like to do to also skyrocket up. It was the same sort of thing as it progressed on and evolved. There was television, and that was very mass culture-y, because people watched television. There were certain products, like TV dinner or Time magazine. See, older forms of mass culture we're not very familiar with, especially, like, our generation. Class of 2013! Text messages are mass culture. Oh, it's Ben. So, because we aren't familiar of old forms of mass culture, is because this is in our life. This is what your grandma did for fun. Sock hops, maybe, like getting down in the, I don't know. Do you see what I mean? Maybe it would be easier to look at mass culture if we saw what it means to us today. So, forms of mass culture today. Mass culture to us means fashion, or the brands of shoes that you wear, or what you watch on TV, what you do for fun. If there is something that you are doing on your spare time when you're not here in school, or when you're not doing something boring, what you do for fun, and what people in Montana are doing for fun, if those match, it's mass culture. I'm sorry, this is kind of lame. I'm sorry I didn't do a skit or any sort of cool rap or anything. What? I do have a rap? Oh, roll film.
Mass culture today is the stuff you say, hey, when you're chilling in your crib trying to waste away your days. What gives you attitude, makes you act all dude. There are forms of mass culture. They just might include American Idol, DC shoes, Gucci giant sunglasses, Converse too, Facebook or MySpace, Red Bull, Maybelline all over your face, NBA or Nike or Rolling Stones, Baby Fat, Garfield, and Garden Gnomes. It might include celebrities that you move, like the Chuck Norris and the Doctor Who, McDonald's and MTV, Coca-Cola and 303, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome. I could keep going, but you already know them. Did you learn something about mass culture? This is all I know about mass culture. Why does nothing rhyme with mass culture? Watch me as I anagram the words mass culture. dog.